Welcome to the Home Builder Digital Marketing Podcast. Over 90% of today's home buyers start their buyer journey online. Here we talk with not only industry experts, but also your fellow home builder marketers to learn how you can succeed in our incredibly competitive digital world. And now, here are your hosts, Greg Bray and Kevin Weitzel.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Home Builder Digital Marketing Podcast. I'm Greg Bray with Blue Tangerine.
And I'm Kevin Weitzel with Outhouse.
And we're excited to have joining us today Greyson Miller. Greyson is the marketing manager at Landmark 24 Homes. Welcome, Greyson. We appreciate you being with us today.
Hey, Greg and Kevin, it's awesome to be here. Very, very excited to see something that I've seen on LinkedIn for months and months and months now. So I'm glad to be a part of it.
Hey, Kevin, somebody actually looks at our stuff on LinkedIn. How about that?
So,
That's
well,
awesome.
He said he's seen it on LinkedIn. He didn't say that he actually listened. Have you listened to a few episodes at least?
I got a couple episodes under my belt. I do.
Right.
All right. Well, Greyson, for those who haven't met you yet, let's start with a quick introduction and get to know a little bit of background about you.
Yeah, I'm the marketing manager at Landmark 24, like Greg just mentioned, homegrown here in Savannah, Georgia. Got some college experience at Kennesaw State, and then I have my master's degree from Mercer University. Kind of trekked around the country a little bit, spent some time in Branson, Missouri as my first job, came back home, worked at Montage, Palmetto Bluff, and now I'm here at Landmark 24.
All right. So, first off, what does the 24 stand for?
Fun fact is the 24 squares that were originally here in Savannah. So we're known for all the different squares we have here, 24 squares.
I knew that actually, and I didn't put two and two together.
They've eliminated a few here and there.
That's where Forrest Gump's bench is, but from what I understand, the Forrest Gump bench actually isn't there.
Yeah. But he did sit in one of the squares. He did, yeah.
That's it. All right. So before we get into a little bit more about you and Landmark 24, could you please tell us one interesting factoid about yourself that has nothing to do with work, family, or the home building industry in general?
Oh man, I mean, there's a couple. It could be the Lego obsession I have. It could be that I am just an absolute geek and like to build my own computers. It could be that I watch every movie that comes out. I mean, I'm a little bit of everything, I think, but a nerd and geek down to my core, 100%.
Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Greyson, tell us a little more about how you ended up at Landmark 24 and kind of your path into working with a builder.
Yeah, so this company was founded by my uncle. He was originally a home builder, so he knew that side very well. And then my grandfather happened to be an accountant by trade. So he joined forces with him some years ago, and they've created Landmark 24 for what it is. I didn't start off on the home builder journey. I wasn't destined to say I'm going to end up there. But as time's gone on, going from tourism to hospitality and then a position opening up here, saw a growth opportunity. I was invited over here by the director of operations, and I found my way in the home building space. I spent some time during my high school summers cleaning job sites, picking up what I could, doing whatever I could as a 16, 17-year-old during the summers. So I'm definitely used to the environment. I love it here, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, I think.
The plus to doing all those little side jobs is it teaches you grit. It adds fiber to your being. So you bring a lot more to the table working in customer service and stuff. You bring more to the marketing side than what somebody fresh out of college brings that just says, hey, I studied marketing and I'd like to work in the home building industry.
Yeah, it's really cool too because I have my parents that work here. My great uncle founded the company, but I have my uncle here also. Uncle's in development, dad does procurement, mom does design. So we have just like the whole wheelhouse kind of going on. So dinner table conversations, very rarely it's what did you do today? It's let's talk about landmarks.
Yeah.
It's a great way to absorb as much information as I can about the space, really. So
Perfect.
Well, give us a little more background about the company. You already mentioned Savannah, but tell us where you guys are building and the type of buyers that you are targeting with your products.
yeah, so we started off Savannah. As time's gone on, the area's grown significantly. We've seen just an absolute uptick in population here the past 7 years, I would say. But with the company being around 20 years old, Savannah, greater Savannah area was kind of our bread and butter. Hardyville, South Carolina, we've grown over across that border over there, all the way down near the Florida border in the Golden Isles, Brunswick, and St. Mary's. We do around 350 homes a year. We've really increased the volume we're doing. We have 65 people on our team. So we have a big company of employees, I would say, too. We do homes all the way from 300K all the way up to around 700K. So every kind of buyer that's out there, we try and grab them in the net. We don't do townhomes right now, unfortunately. That's beyond our capabilities at this moment. It's a little bit more of with the city that we're kind of hoping to get some townhomes going on, but just some single family homes, build to rents. We try and cover the whole gambit, and we're maybe kind of stretching over into build on your lot coming soon. So we'll see where that goes.
Out of curiosity, on the build for rent side, are you guys just contracting, building out the homes and then turning it over to a management company, or are you self-managing those properties as well?
No, we turn them over. With some projects too, we might take some of the land for our own, some of the units, and we'll just keep them on our own. We have a little rental side as well that we don't necessarily advertise as much, but we do have a rental division, and sometimes in those deals, we'll just take a few for ourselves. So
So, Grayson, the family connection is interesting to me. I didn't know that about you until just
yeah.
now. So, you got uncles and parents and everything. So, you're the young guy. When you bring marketing ideas, what type of generational view do you have that might be a little different on how you should approach some of this? And now, granted, I don't want to get you in trouble with anybody. Okay, so we can talk very carefully here. But what is it that maybe some who've been doing this a little longer are kind of comfortable with that you're trying to say, you know what, let's try it different. Let's do something
Yeah.
different.
I think, it's always the tangibles, collateral, for example, or the road signs or billboards. It's those things that, a lot of people hold near and dear to their heart because they've known that for 40 years, for example. Some of the veterans that grew up around that space, but then also knowing the digital side of things, the capabilities, the tracking, the retargeting, the geofencing, all these other things, you see so many other possibilities. And so it's kind of weighing the two and trying to do it in an appropriate manner. That's not to say some of those old-fashioned techniques are useless. That's far from it. But it is kind of a balancing act and also being able to convey to different people in your company what you want or what you want to push for digital marketing wise and kind of speak it in layman's terms. I know I'm the same way when I hear construction talk. I'm like, all right, y'all got to talk to me. Like I'm just a complete novice over here almost. And so it's kind of breaking it down to a digestible form for a lot of people, I would say.
When you first came to the company, was there an invitation saying, hey, we want to get more digital? Or was that something that you've kind of had to advocate for and really push to try and drive that direction?
Yeah, so our director of operations, he came over from Pulte actually about a year and a half before I came over here, and he's the one that kind of recruited me actually. He was a big fan of the digital space, but also understands the physical side as well as the tangible sides, like I mentioned. And so there was definitely a strong investment into the marketing side that wasn't ever happening before then. But in terms of the budget, I mean, it was double, triple. It's 5 times what it was at this point now. And so it wasn't a hard battle at all, because that was kind of the consensus we wanted to go in, the pathway. So there wasn't really a battle, I would say, thankfully.
When you look at that roadmap over the last few years that you guys have been working on, which tactics were kind of top of the list to start with? And then how did you kind of decide where you wanted to layer in the next piece from your digital growth?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the pro and the con in the sense where sometimes, you want to ramp up marketing and it's like, all right, I want to spend 5 grand this month extra. Let's do it. Let's do something with it. And sometimes maybe a knee-jerk reaction is to not strategize and maybe just throw it to something. So I think sometimes it's trying to be patient a little bit and take the time to best utilize that money. One of the big ones is like SEM, just paid search, for example. That's something we're big fans of. We keep close tabs on that. We have a lot of nationals in our market, a lot of nationals. And so we constantly have to kind of assess and monitor what they're doing digitally in our market. We have the number 2 market share month in and month out against these nationals. And so we know that paid search is kind of a priority for a lot of their digital space as well. So we try and manage that. Also, the listing sites. That was a big one too, getting on listing sites like Zillow and doing builder boosts and participating in those. We were only paying for leads at one point. I would say really just diversifying kind of our marketing spend a little bit more even too.
So for these other mid-sized builders who are saying, man, I've got a lot of nationals I have to compete with too. When you guys are learning, we won't call it spying on, we'll call it learning from
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
doing.
no.
How do you decide when to copy and go, oh, that's a good idea, let's do that too? And when to go, oh, you know what? We can do something better than that because they can't pivot or change or evolve as quick as we can. Where's that flow when you guys are looking at those opportunities?
I think it's understanding your own business and market to begin with. You'll look at Savannah's track record the last couple years and how booming our market was at one point, and now it's cooled off a little bit. Rather, some markets now are booming that weren't seeing that same level of boom that we got during 2001, for example. And so you kind of have to assess that, I would say, first and foremost. Not everything's going to be replicated from one builder to another. That's really just understanding your own business. You don't have to copy every single thing. There's some processes that we have that we prefer a certain way too with our sales team, for example. Some people might want you to do an online consultation first before speaking with the salesperson. If you call my OSC, he can schedule a meeting with you this afternoon with them in the field. We just want to get you in the agent's hands, for example. So just because, one national does it doesn't mean it makes sense for us or we want to even go about it in that same way, I would say.
So, being a self-admitted nerd, techie, do you appreciate the older techniques like maybe newsprint or billboards as comparatively speaking? Because all markets are different, and there's markets
Mhm.
where you can put up billboards and have people in droves coming to a community. So, are you still watching the old school stuff, or are you just purely what is the newest, latest, greatest tech, and how can I implement AI, and where are you at on that spectrum?
100%. We're kind of a balanced company where, we try and integrate as much technology as we can while embracing our roots of just being kind of a traditional production builder. And in our market, we have an array of billboard opportunities. That's no stranger in our market, unlike some others maybe. And so you can't just shy away from something that is very prominent in our market, for example. We try and balance it in all honesty. You got to respect it though, at the end of the day, like I said earlier. I mean, you can't just throw it out just because it's old school. You have to embrace certain things, just like you ask people that like the older things to embrace the new things. It's the same vice versa for me, I would say. I can't just only love new stuff. I have to embrace traditional marketing tactics, no matter how difficult it might be to see an ROI on a billboard, for example. So,
Being able to track is definitely one of the perks of the digital side compared to some of those others for sure. So,
yeah.
so speaking of tracking, Grayson, what are some of the metrics that you check in on a regular basis? What are those top KPIs that you're watching all the time?
Conversion rates on our sites is a big one. Obviously, click-through rates, the impressions served, but then like also our OSC, we look at the lead conversion rate that he has, lead to deal, follow-up response time, that first response time, trying to aim for under 5-10 minutes. So we try and assess that too. And with HubSpot that we're kind of onboarding with right now, a lot of that will be more trackable to help also determine ROI, cost per lead, revenue driven, all these other sorts of, numbers and metrics that I haven't been able to attribute anything to previously. But in the coming months with HubSpot, hopefully we'll be able to kind of flip over a couple more stones and see what's really benefiting us at the end of the day.
No, that's awesome that you're recognizing, hey, we want to track more and do more. You need to get the data first, right? You can't do anything
Mhm.
without the data. Need
Yeah,
that
yeah,
data.
yeah. And that's really cool because like on HubSpot, you can just pull all your Google ads, all your meta ads over, and you can see what's being attributed to what. We're trying to work out the phone systems too, where, whatever phone system, AirCall, CallRail, whatever it is, we can have that integrated as well for an even further step of attribution. I want to like be able to attribute every conversation my OSC has at the end of the day to some sort of source, whether we spend marketing dollars on it or it's just organic. I want to do my best to figure out where is it coming from at the end of the day. And it's hard. So,
Let me ask you this. When you're looking at those metrics and you're looking at where these different leads are coming from, do you turbocharge the ones that are more successful, or do you bring up some of the other ones that are less successful, maybe that they just don't have the right dollars behind them?
I think it depends on where they're positioned in the funnel, so to speak. If it's intended for, a high funnel kind of approach as a brand awareness play, like our meta ads, I'll just use this as an example. Like our meta ads, we have a lot of community driven ads. High funnel, we're just trying to get them to our site so we can retarget them later. And then we have incentive ads. We spend all different dollar amounts across the board on all of these. But then with our retargeting efforts, we kind of double down with the incentives because we notice a high conversion rate with those, but a lower click-through rate. But then our community ads, we notice a higher click-through rate because they're pretty and cool, but then a lower conversion rate. So we get them to the site, retarget them, bring them back with our incentives, and then we notice a decent conversion rate. So that's kind of like an example of how we analyze some of the creatives data right there.
Are you A/B testing as well, or are you just let's try this lane, then try that lane, then let's try this lane?
Yeah, we definitely try and do A and B. I think I fall victim to this, and maybe more marketers do, where sometimes I'll be like, let's A B this, let's A B this. And then you do it, and then you don't learn much. You forget about it after the fact, months later, you did it, and you're like, that was cool. Good to know. And then a year later goes by, and you do the same A B test you did before. One of my favorite A B tests is we usually run a couple different incentives. One's like a general markdown, and then one's like a buy down rate. And when we do our email campaigns, where we place the two, and if they get to the bottom where we have one incentive versus another, trying to understand which one got the most clicks, which ones people gravitated to more quickly. Also, whether or not we put a home exterior or an amenity shot on a graphic. Those are always nice to see too, which ones people gravitated more to. But that's about like the extent of our A/B tests, I would say.
Grayson, I'm going to go out on record here and say I think that's significantly more than a lot of builders do with A/B testing.
more.
Don't discount yourself there, man, because you are asking the right questions. And when you're talking about which image in the ad performed better or not, that's amazing.
Yeah, like the meta carousels, we were doing it at first, but just homes, exteriors and interiors, because you always want to put the home. And I know not every builder has an amenity center. That's kind of a luxury for some builders to be able to have too. And so if you have it, I think just taking advantage of it as much as you, because that's what the nationals do at the end of the day. Like, you talk about copying some strategies. You find like a programmatic display ad from Pulte Homes or something, and bam, like it's going to be their biggest amenity center with a lazy river.
I don't think that's theft, though. That's just, featuring the benefits of living in that community. I don't think that would be considered a lift or even in the lightest fashion.
Yeah.
I ask you one really dumb question out of left field.
If you're going to ask me a dumb question, I'm scared what my questions are to you.
All right, so let me ask you this. Only because this is a morbid curiosity is going to kill me. Because I went through one of those bus tours downtown in Savannah. I love the place. Matter of fact, if I could relocate there today, I would do it. Does Spanish moss only grow like on the trees, or do they become part of houses too? Is this something you have to like clear your gutters of Spanish moss?
Yeah, I mean, if you got some great oaks resting above your house, those things will get all stuck up in the gutters. They'll get stuck
Oh,
on your driveway. Some people would call it intrusive. Some people think it's absolutely beautiful until you got the bugs on your shoulders from that Spanish moss. I think you learn to appreciate it at some point.
Kevin's moving to Savannah. All right.
I
Good.
When's the last
did.
time you've been to Savannah?
Well, probably 2 years ago, and I did one of those bus tours, and there was a little lady on the bus that said, "Ladies and gentlemen, you'll see the stuff hanging from the trees." And she had this really like smoker's voice. She goes, "It's called Spanish moss. It is neither Spanish nor is it moss. It comes from the pineapple family." And I cracked up. I will never forget that quote because of her just raspy voice. She was a beautiful lady. Not beautiful,
Yeah.
good looking, beautiful, just a beautiful soul. She was not pretty at all, but awesome human being.
It's all dry out there in Phoenix. You don't have much out there, right?
We have cactus, things that you can fall on and hurt yourself. That's really about it.
And
And then
I
you
just want to know how many other things are in the pineapple family. I didn't know there was a family. So
I didn't know there was family either. It blew my mind. And it's not Spanish, nor is it a moss.
All right, Grayson. Well, back to home building.
Yes.
Oh man. When you guys are trying to track all this data, all this information, how do you keep from getting stuck in kind of that information overload where you've just got so much data that you can't even, figure out what to look at next or how to use it to make a better decision? Is that something that you run into, or are you guys pretty good at figuring out what to do with it?
I think I ran into it at first because, I mean, when I stepped into this position, there was a lot of digital marketing spend, but very, very, very high level analytic analysis, I think, taking place. As time went on, the more the person understands myself in this example, the more I understand it, further down the rabbit hole I can go. But I think also understanding everyone else's level of that knowledge is also pretty important because if you're the only one in the room that might know that on your team, I think it limits the strategizing that can take place too. What I understand, I try and also translate it in a sense where others on my team can also understand it to where we can better all make decisions. Just because I know what I'm looking at with the data doesn't mean I can make the best decision all the time. So, I try and translate it to like again our team and where we can all kind of collaborate and understand, okay, here's the goals for our business and this is the data being translated. Let's make this decision. I think you just limit how much you get at first if you don't understand it and slowly progress as time goes on. You just gotta learn it and learn it and learn it.
And you said you guys do about 300, 350 homes a year, right?
Yes, sir.
So you're in one of those limbo categories. It's not a good or bad thing. It's just the fact. Nationals have everything. They try to do as much in-house as they can. And you have the
Mhm.
small builder that they just don't have the staffing. They have to bring in agencies. You're in that kind of weird middle ground where you can use agencies, you can do it internal.
Mhm.
When do you determine what's the best time to partner with an agency versus trying to tackle it yourself?
You gotta look at your team size first and foremost. I mean, it's just myself, an OSC, and a marketing coordinator. Three people, and one of them doesn't really do digital marketing. So it's just two people then. And, I think an agency helps out a lot of people at the end of the day. And I think a lot of builders could underestimate how big a builder needs to be to get an agency. I feel like I'm on one end of that spectrum where, like you said, like you're in the limbo. I think the limbo stage is fairly wide for builders to jump with an agency. I think you could do 50 homes a year and jump with an agency, and you don't have to spend $1 billion a year. You don't have to, but you have that assistance and that expertise at your disposal. But then, like you said, once you get to a certain echelon, like, yeah, bring it in house course,
Right.
if you can.
You said you don't have to spend $1 billion. Do you have any clients that are spending $1 billion? I don't have any.
Oh,
A billion? I think he said a
Billion with a
million.
B.
I think he said a million.
I don't know if even DR Horn spend a billion.
No, they don't.
If there is someone listening who's ready to spend $1 billion, please
Give me
call
a
right
jingle.
now.
I will jump through hoops.
I mean, what do y'all see? What kind of builder accounts do y'all typically see? What's like maybe the lowest end and the highest end of people kind of willing to commit versus bringing it in-house or keeping it in-house?
Well, it really depends on the product line, because when it comes to websites, when you have my nephew Steven, he knows how to build a website. You need to stay away from that like it has the black plague on it because all they're going to do is do a very basic page that doesn't have any data driven aspect to it. It doesn't have any feed capabilities. It's just a placeholder, a couple of pages. I'm sure Greg has a lot more to pontificate on that subject. But when it comes to digital assets side, there's a lot of things that tools allow things to happen. Like renderings, you can learn some basic, Studio Max and Studio S Max and do some pretty decent renderings. Now you have to train yourself how to do it. You have to bring it up to speed and can you scale? Those are the kind of things you have to consider. So I think it just really comes down to the line and what you're looking at and what the service is.
I would just add that it's really about what are you good at and what
Yeah.
can somebody else do more efficiently and effectively so that you can be busy doing something else. Because at the end of the day, what you mentioned, one or two people, there's only so many hours. And it doesn't matter how good you are at all of it, there's only so many hours. So you've got to find partners to get some of it done and just kind of, leveraging the expertise and the experience is powerful.
I think some people put like if they have the opportunity or their management team or whoever says, let's go get a couple agencies, let's go get some partners to help out with these things. I think some people, if they're not careful, they can let a bunch of other people do a lot of their businesses work for them at the end of the day too. And, I think just marketing teams being able to hold themselves accountable and embrace their function, take ownership over a lot of it. Even if you have a marketing agency, take ownership over that. Treat them like it's your team and communicate as long as you don't let your hands get too far off it, in my opinion.
I would agree that the best relationships are when you treat that agency like a member of the team and have that conversation level and that strategy discussion and not just the implementer and the order taker where you are just telling them everything to do. You're missing out if all you do is say, go do this, go do that, and just have
Mhm.
them do it for you and miss out on tapping into their experience.
They don't know your business at the end of the day.
So, Grayson, as you've gotten into home building and you look back at some of the other experiences you had before, what's something that you understand now about home builder marketing that you wish you had known on day one?
I think there's probably a series of them. I think the financing piece is something that I really, really learned a lot about past couple years. I mean, that's the climate we're in for one, but you can really do a lot with just the financing messaging, whether it's buying the rates down, estimated payments, whether it's a mortgage calculator on your website, how you integrate that with your follow-up process with your OSC. If you have a lending partner or you have your own mortgage company, how much you can integrate those individuals into your sales meetings that you have with other brokerages. I mean, there's just endless opportunities to include financing inside of messaging and your outreach, really, I would say. As I've grown and learned more about that world, it becomes a lot more easy, I guess, to relay to buyers at this point. But at one point, it really was not easy. All these other things that were just really, really difficult to relay versus look at my pretty home. So it's trying to relay some of that financing jargon, I would say.
How about this? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1, we don't know anything about it. 10, we've implemented so much of it that we could give classes on it. Where is Landmark 24 in AI implementation into your daily activities and workload?
I would say probably somewhere around like a 5 or a 6. I think AI can be a buzzword with some circles and some people where it's like, we got AI. They use ChatGPT or they use Google's Gmail thing to just rewrite their email. Doing yourself justice and understanding really how involved AI is with your company is important. We use it for day-to-day tasks more than anything, like an AI chatbot, like an agent that HubSpot might offer. I'm kind of weary about. I don't know if I trust it to do things after hours with the risk of misinformation, for example. But I think things like an ERP have endless opportunities with AI and all the data an ERP absorbs, for example. I think those have endless opportunities to grow a business's revenue, cost savings, everything. And then HubSpot, though, too, with the marketing data coming inside of it and what you see with your buyers and the audiences. I think really as time goes on, we'll be able to integrate a lot more. We're just using it, I guess, in the baby stages, I would say. We do have one application, though. I know this is a long answer for you, Kevin. We have this application called Rilla that we just brought on.
They're fantastic.
Yeah, that's really phenomenal. I mean, summarizing conversations with buyers and being able to tell the strengths and weaknesses of your sales team, buyer feedback, all of it.
So, depending on how long you've had it, did you get the instantaneous pushback from sales thinking, oh, they're spying on my calls? Or do they look at it as an opportunity to learn and grow and improve their process?
With something like that, you're always going to get that first week or two. Like you'll always get that no matter what. But as time's gone on, they have bought in entirely. We use it through and through, and we've heard their feedback, and they appreciate it. I mean, it might have a bug here and there, but it just allows an opportunity to self-reflect, really, at the end of the day. It's hard for people to self-reflect after, meeting someone for 2 hours and remembering everything you did and said. So I think it's really benefiting them. It will continue benefiting them in the long run, without a doubt.
I agree.
Well,
Yeah.
Greyson, thanks so much for spending time with us today. Do you have any last thoughts or words of advice you'd like to leave with our audience before we wrap up?
Oh man, I don't know. Just be resourceful. I think a lot of marketers maybe will get intimidated at the big guys, the big builders. There's always a bigger fish at the end of the day. Don't stretch yourself too thin. Embrace everything you already have. Use it 100% before you start trying to worry about expanding too far. That has been one challenge of mine every time of growing and learning. Use 100% of what I already have before I start trying to do something new. So that would be my word of advice.
Well, Greyson, if somebody wants to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach out and get in touch?
Yeah, you can go on LinkedIn, Greyson Miller on there with Landmark 24 Homes, or you can email me at gmiller@landmark24.com. I'm happy to lend a hand or provide any feedback in any way I can.
Well, thanks again for being with us. And thank you, everybody, for listening today to the Home Builder Digital Marketing Podcast. I'm Greg Bray with Blue Tangerine.
And I'm Kevin Weitzel with Outhouse. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about how Blue Tangerine and Outhouse can help you generate more qualified home buyer leads, visit bluetangerine.com and outhouse.net. If you've enjoyed our show today, please tell a friend, leave us a review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Be sure to join us again on the Home Builder Digital Marketing Podcast.